So I hinted at this, talked a little bit about it, but didn't get deep into it because there was actually so much class reworking going on in 11.0.5, and Blizzard's kind of hiding it under the rug. They're like, oh, look at the Judgment, remake. Why don't you guys look over here at all this shit we're giving you? Don't look at these reworks, because there's a lot of them. And this is the most reworks I've ever seen this early in an expansion, but there is a shit ton of them. So let's see, Bellular did a good job here of summarizing all of our class reworks coming in 11.0.5, the official anniversary patch.
Welcome back, everyone. We have a ton to talk about today because once upon a time, an expansion would launch and then it would be months of silence, right? Some immediate bugs would be fixed, but then Blizz would go away into the workshop and we would be stuck with whatever we had. Classes were often the worst victims of this, but thankfully not this time because in the first minor patch, we're actually getting full spec and talent tree reworks. Some of them actually look kind of...
Samiccus, thank you for the 14 months. I appreciate that. Death Knight of our Scourge.
But before I dig into that, there's a whole ton of minor hotfixes that are live in-game right now and we've got to cover. The Great Vault will be a bit easier to fill from delves, so it used to take 12 delves to fill all of the boxes, but now it's just 8, and the vault boxes have moved from 2, 4, 8 down from 3, 6, 12. That's pretty big, and if you're serious about gearing, filling this will feel mandatory at the start, air quotes, mandatory. Now, 12 delves, of course, might only be an hour or two, but that still is quite a lot. I think Blizzard have likely seen the specter of Torghast hanging over this, where Torghast had well-received elements in beta, but it just ended up a chore as soon as it was tight.
I'm glad Blizzard did this. Yeah, you definitely don't want to burn people out on delves because, as degenerative WoW players in general are complete degenerates, and they will just completely play the game to the point where they'll hate it. So you got to stop them from doing that to themselves. So they limited it from 12 delves to 8, which is good. And by the way, doing a rank 8 delve will give you heroic level adventure gear in the extra coffer that using your coffer key for the what's it called, the extra delve, whatever, plunder delves, whatever they call them. There's a freaking highlighted delve on your map. When you do it, you'll get heroic level raid gear from that extra one. So you want to do that.
To progression when
week.
People were just doing it weekly for their legendary currency. Now, of course, delves don't have as much of a risk. They're shorter, they're more fun, they're just one way of many to get gear. It's not like they're the single way to get a vital currency. So I'm not super worried about this anyway, but I think dropping it down to 8 certainly helps the grind, and that's nice.
Yeah, it's good.
Then related to that, we've got Bran bug fixes and improvements. Basically, he's a bit more dodgy, a bit less responsive, and he breaks less often. He still does break a bit. And look, we've all seen reports of Bran being a bit useless, leaving your group, just being all over the place. Blizzard obviously wants him to be a key part of the delve experience, so I would expect these fixes to keep on happening, because even if you can finish delves just fine, they will be more fun if he feels like an active, helpful, bug-free party member, and that may just matter when we're actually going into those harder delves when the season drops. Then there's a big update for the alt levelers. Instead of just the 4 leveling dungeons, alts who skip the intro to start adventure mode will now have access to all 8 War Within dungeons,
nice.
So that's pretty
good
sweet.
For alts.
Then, if your lamplight or satchels have been downgraded from purple to green and you've been worried, the good news is you don't have to worry. Basically, Blizzard realized they make no sense being purple because they don't contain that much. Nothing's changed about their contents, the label's just more descriptive. Then the next one's kind of funny. So, Earthen can't eat food because they're made of stone. Now, they have a passive that lets them eat a gem for a permanent well-fed buff, but there's 2 problems there. Number 1, they can't pick a main stat buff, so they're just nerfed compared to regular food eaters, and 2, they can't eat or drink. So healers actually weren't able to restore mana in between pulls. That would certainly be a problem in Mythic. Plus, the good news is both have been solved via hotfixes. So Blizzard buffed their buff, so their buff isn't a nerf, and then Belga and Dornegal sells gems that they can eat to restore mana. So now all Blizzard really need to do is fix how weak their Azerite Surge ratio is, and that'll be that. Then, is it rude to leave a heroic early if the boss doesn't drop the thing you want? Well, yes. We all might have an opinion on that, but Blizzard's answer is definitely yes.
It is.
Here's what happened.
Don't be a dick. Don't be a dick. Especially if you're a healer or a tank. You know how long some of these DPS have waited? And I only play tank in this game. I could easily just freaking tank until a certain boss and then leave the group if that's what I want. But you know what? I'm actually not a dick. Okay, I understand that people have spent their day waiting for this shit to happen, and then I come in here like the glorious hero that I am and tank the shit out of it for them. I'm gonna finish the damn thing. Finish it. Don't be an asshole.
Discovered that the sack from Arakara's first boss was BIS for almost every spec. It was that good. which of course meant an epidemic of players queuing and then leaving right after that boss. That of course leaves the rest of the party just waiting for somebody to fill in the spot. That's not a great experience, so to solve this, Blizzard have changed the deserter debuff to apply whenever you leave dungeons early, even if you have killed a boss. Because previously it was only if you left before a boss was killed, which doesn't really help in this case. And the funny thing is, we've been here before during the Legion expansion. Back then, profession items were in dungeons, and some people would just leave after picking them up. So what Blizzard did is they added a quest requirement to also kill the last boss to stop that. This has got some people saying that in dungeons we should just get our loot from a chest at the end. I understand that pragmatically, but I don't know. It's an RPG, and there is just something about picking up loot from the corpse of a box that I don't want to lose. Anyway, next, patch 11.0.5 is on the PTR, and Blizzard have revealed some big class changes. And certainly, if your hunter has been a bit let down by one of your hero talents, I may have good news. Also, as an experiment, we posted this, a monster recap of the news over in bellular.games. Who knows, maybe that'll be a weekly newsletter for the Warcraft side of things. I don't know, but over there you also get the Lore Walking podcast, you get guide content like our keybinding deep dive and our multi-character tool that comes along with that, as well as ad-free versions of all of our videos. It's also the #1 way to support our team. We're always trying to build more there, and of course it'll help you enjoy WoW without, having algorithms all over the place. But okay, let's talk about the PTR notes and updates. These are pretty cool. So, class reworks. Balance absolutely needed the most fixing. They were just disappointing last we checked. So, looking here, not all is perfect, but there are good targeted fixes. Starfall is baseline, and some 2-pointers are down to 1 point. And a big issue was the low skill ceiling. So, we've actually got some talents that just add new interactions to play around. That'll be good. There's just more meat.
That's a problem? Low skill ceiling? When is that a problem? Why is that a problem? We don't have skill. We want low ceilings.
The bone. Then they've got Circle of Life and Death back for some faster dots, and they've got an option for their major cooldown every 75 seconds with 2 charges, plus a passive version of their AoE mushrooms. Taking a look at the layout then, the changes with points should give you a little bit more flexibility, and maybe Boomy mains will notice problems here with the new layout that I can't see, but at least to our eyes, it does seem that this is off to a strong enough start. Then Hunters. So BM and MM are getting similar, but on a smaller scale. Beast Mastery gets automatic Cobra shots and a new damage window that is procced by them, as well as an AoE kill shot that gets better when you've got more pets active. Cobra even reduces the cooldown of Barbed Shot, and Barbed Shot has actually had its cooldown and duration increased. So
I actually have, I'll be honest, I felt bad for Hunters lately. I talk shit about them all the time. They do pull things in Raid for no reason. It's just a guarantee. It's in their DNA. But they have needed a little bit of a bump. Their DPS hasn't been that good. So this is good for them, getting some bumps across
altogether,
the board.
That's basically making the spec a bit more interactive and intertwined. Then for marksmanship, man, it's again, surgical changes, but they feel big. The change is that steady focus is kept with 1 steady shot cast instead of 2. Then precise shots has lost the S. It's just precise shot. It grants 1 stack instead of 2. That's pretty damn big, and that has led to Blizzard removing the talent that existed to fix the issues that cropped up during true shots. So that's pretty smart.
Let us lay waste to this realm.
Benjamin, thank you for the sub. Welcome
Survival
to
has got a few smart changes as well. Fury of the Eagle is now faster, stronger, and it generates Tip of the Spear stacks. In full rework, but certainly lovely changes. For the Paladins then, great news, the long overdue class tree rework is here, and it's honestly incredible. Divine Steed is 6 seconds baseline, and there is bonus movement speed everywhere. That's awesome. Then the reordering has made some key talents like Divine Toll a little bit easier to get. And, here's the best of, right? You can now Divine Shield through Forbearance. Blessing of Sacrifice can auto-apply to low HP allies. Lay on Hands can ignore heal reductions. Selfless Healer is back. And all that just means that Paladins are kind of massively upgraded as off-healers in every spec. So that's just amazing for the Paladin fantasy. I'm really happy with that. Then, Arcane Mages. You get a few changes that look a little...
Arcane's freaking S tier right now. Arcane's the best of the best. What do they need?
Bit disheartening. One of them is the bugged interaction with Nether Precision being removed, and that's happened after players fought tooth and nail to keep the thing in beta because they felt it ended up being more fun.
Paladin looks pretty good.
The other things, though, do look fine, as an example, having guaranteed lay drinkers, so we'll see how it balances out. Then, Mistweavers, good news, you can rejoice because, your already fantastic spec has got nice...
Yeah, I was going to say, Mistweaver's in a good spot right now. To get buffed.
Ancient Teachings is baseline, and it transfers damage from Crackling Jade Lightning. Ancient Concordance, which is the the Stomp Healing Transfer talent, that's actually being replaced by a simple one that just buffs the core teachings a lot after you press Stomp or Thunder Tea. And if you don't like that, Rising Sun Kick has got a replacement that kicks up Mists to do AoE damage instead. But then on the range front, there's a new talent to give Lightning a 1000% buff and hit AoE instead. So if you go for that, I mean, that's pretty big. And that with the baseline buffs for it mean that ranged damage and healing with that damage may just be a bit more viable now. So I think that'll be pretty nice.
Those changes sound really good for Mythic Plus. Sounds like Mistweaver's going to be
Then the last big wave is for the Shaman. So Elemental, you guys get loads of changes. As an example, a total rework to Ascendance, which of course will go with the nice new Ascendance visuals you've got.
I will say, so far, this is the Shaman expansion, man. Shamans have gotten a lot of love. They really have. We saw that their DPS was like S tier. 2 of their specs were A tier, 1 was S, so they're looking really good. And then healing, they were good. Shamans, it's a good time to play Shaman.
And then there's targeted talents that bring specific things like Lava Burst, Lightning Rod, and your Maelstrom spenders up. Ice Fury has now got more AoE focus, and it's a bit less useful for movement. And moving on to the enhancement Shamans, you're not really being left behind. You got neat things too, like passive Feral Spirit summoning, and another neat one where Chain Lightning can turn Flame Shock into an explosive AoE Tremor Shock instead of just manually spreading Flame Shock. So that's pretty nice. Then Ice Strike is now a procced Frost Shock replacement instead of its own button, so that's great for consolidation. Doomwinds is now a big AoE storm as well as a self buff, and for the non-weak auras users, Blizzard have actually done a huge wave of changes to the animations, the UI overlays, and the spell effects for enhancement while they're at it, which will be pretty big, because as much as it feels like everybody uses weak auras, I have a feeling the vast majority of players actually don't.
Any change that makes add-ons less required is a good change to the game. I think add-ons are a barrier to entry for a lot of new players. They're a barrier to entry for anybody who wants to ascend basically from being a casual to being a filthy degenerate. And like these add-ons in general are just not good for the game. Yes, they make the game better because, you know, it helps you out in whatever way that you want. But the more that they can integrate into the game, the better will be. The better the game will be. Shouldn't be requiring add-ons for anything. Raid, Mythic Plus, anything. So these are good changes. I'm happy for anybody who plays Shaman was kind of left out because they didn't have weak auras.
So for them, that'll be pretty transformational. Now, Rogues, I wish I could bring you amazing news. I can't. You don't have a full rework, but you do have some tiny things fixed. As an example, Sub is losing Sepsis and Invigorating Shadow Dust. So that's nice, but there is still a lot to do. Then, some minor but nice changes. All Shadowlands abilities that are still in the game have got new icons that better match their classes. So, you're, say, like Divine Toll, well, that actually looks more like a Paladin thing now, so that's definitely nice. Then there's some great news, actually, where the new Draktyr class options, they can fight without shifting out of their Visage form, so I guess that just means you,
Is it Visage or Visage? I'd say Visage. But Bellular always says visage, and I don't know, it sounds like massage to me. It sounds very sensual, the way he says it. I don't know, but yes, they don't have to switch out of their form, which is nice, unless you play Evoker. If you play Evoker, you're still going to be forced to switch into your Scaly Boy form because you're doing dragon abilities. You got to be a dragon.
Can be another weird type of
It's a British thing.
So yeah, if you love elves, I mean, WoW really is spoiling you for choice at this stage. Anyway,
I just feel like he's coming. I feel like he's coming on to me every time he says visage. I don't know.
Stuff that's actually real impactful. Hero talents. Some of them are getting way larger changes than I think we expected. Deathbringer for the Death Knights is getting new talents and effect changes. Some look great, but it may be a nerf, so we'll need to see how it shakes out. Ooh. But what's real big is the Dark Ranger has been hugely reworked. Black Arrow is no longer a new button. It's now a kill shot replacement, and everything operates around it. So it's based on the opening burst, the execution window, and Deathblow procs.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to say this, but also Dark Ranger got a bunch of new animations I saw. So, like, if you want to live out your Sylvanas, cosplay, you really can, because even in the next trading post, they're giving the Sylvanas whole transmog outfit. Plus, now as a Dark Ranger, you're going to get all the Sylvanas-style animations with the Dark Arrow and the tendrils coming out and all that shit. So, yeah, I mean, if you wanted to always be Sylvanas, this is your time to play the game.
Pretty sick. Then Shamans get all three just being slightly updated and looking a bit better. So altogether, right, we're seeing some key hero talent improvements, some key class improvements. There is still lots to do, yes, and this is probably a lot of the dregs of beta feedback actually making it onto live because, well, when you're like 2 or 3 weeks before shipping, you just have to draw a line under things and focus on stability and solving bugs and that kind of thing. Altogether then, this is pretty crazy for the patch after launch. I mean, this is way bigger than we usually get in a 0.5 patch. Of course, that's me referring to all of the other content that's coming. A lot of this will just be the dregs dregs of beta feeds.
We're essentially getting like a half a raid tier out of this thing. It's pretty cool. It's going to be a nice, fun patch to play for sure. It's just all these changes to the classes. It's more than I've ever seen to start an expansion.
Back finally being acted on, but again, they just have a way better cadence. So I guess I've got more confidence in the game as a player. I guess if Demon Hunters and Rogues can maybe get their reworks in 11.07 or 11.1, then this may end up being one of the best expansions for class changes. Next then, let's talk about some gameplay and systems related news. And the first one is Warbound gear. So in short, every time the game considers giving you some gear, it may also give you a second bit of gear that is intended for your alts. Now this means dungeon bosses, raid bosses, delve boxes, they've got a second separate bonus roll for
nice.
Warbound until equipped gear. Let's shorten this to WUE gear, and the goal basically is that you just ship this directly to your alts, or you just store it in your Warband bank until it's needed in one of your other characters.
See, I'm a guy who doesn't play alts. I never play alts. I am Samiccus, and Samiccus is I am my blood DK. That's all I ever play. But, I mean, I guess I'll keep things in my bank for Warband, or I'll just sell them. You can't auction them because they're Warband bound, so there's that. Oh, Jesus, I opened the game. But beyond that, I mean, it's good for people who play alts. And how long? Servers are going down today for 4 hours, 6 Blade. So you're going to have to wait 4 hours. You know, whatever your server typically goes down in your area, it comes back up at 11 a.m. PDT, assuming there are no issues.
Now, this gear is independent, right? It's independent of your actual chance of getting the, gear for your main character from a bit of content, and it's usually one full track below the real loot. So as an example, if you're doing a heroic raid boss and it drops Hero 2 gear, then it will drop Champion 2 Warbound until equipped gear from the same loot table.
Nice.
That's a big thing. It's not just a random little box. No, it's from the same loot table, and that means it'll be pretty useful in your characters. Now, the exceptions are final bosses, which can drop anything from that raid or dungeon, and for mythic raids, they can only drop up to Champion 4, and that's just because Blizzard don't want you to have like a fully hero-geared character without actually playing it, which does make sense, but in a way it could be a weird choice because you will be starving for crests and stones without grinding in that character anyway. And you may have found some of this gear already. As an example, Warbound until equipped adventurer gear from the first Lamplighter satchel of each week and from some rares. That's just this system in action. So that's pretty good. The next thing then is some secret renown, because it turns out, yes, there is a secret source of renown in the game, but it may cost you your restored coffer keys. Ooh. Will that be worth it to you? Maybe, maybe not.
You got to remember, your restored coffer keys right now, if you rank up to an 8, which you will be able to do when this season's live, that's going to give you heroic level raid gear. So using that for rep, I don't think that's a good choice. Unless you're beyond heroic level raid gear, which will be very few people early on.
People discovered that whenever they use keys in Bountiful Delves, they get a one-time bonus amount of renown. Now, Wowhead reports that their best guess is this. Whenever you use a key, it rolls between 1 and 4 to pick a renown. If you've not gotten a bonus for that one yet, then it will give you 1,002 renown, and yes, there's a 2 there, and that's a bit awkward. Anyway, it'll then give you an extra 50 for every tier above 1 that delve was. Of course, if you already got the bonus, then you'll get nothing, unless you've done a higher tier, in which case it will add a 50 rep per tier bonus. Now, of course, getting this renown could be a bit awkward, because what if you say clear a rank like a tier 7 delve, but then it rolls a 3, and then you just don't get any bonus, right? It's kind of weird how they've implemented that. Basically, I wouldn't focus on how it actually works. Just know that you'll get renown naturally as you do delves and you use your keys.
Yeah, some people got banned. Some people, you see the 4-day bans that went out. Methods, like entire raid team is banned right now for fucking around with renown. So they're not going to win the race to world first. Guys, if you find an exploit, don't do it. Just don't do it. You're going to get caught. You're probably going to get banned. So just play the game normal. Don't be a degenerate.
The best way to do this right now, if you've got loads of alts and you don't care about gearing them, and they've got loads of keys,
there was a renown exploit. I don't know what it was, but there was
on tier 3 delves right now. So you could do that for some rep now. Otherwise, though, the intent of this strange system is pretty clear. It's just bonus renown for clearing higher tier delves. Now, before I point you to the next video, a quick little tip. The renown gate for the main campaign has just been outright deleted. So if you started this expansion late and you've not hit renown 4 with all of the factions, don't worry. You can just log in, do the leveling campaign, get to level 80, and then do the rest of the story right away, allowing you to just play it as sort of one big continuous campaign.
But you can't wait a minute. You can't do the rest of the story, I thought, until you're renown level 4. Doesn't the rest of the chapters of the main campaign not open until you're at least renown 4 with every... Maybe they changed it. I don't know.
But it's not it for the Warcraft news. There is so much more going on, and to learn about that, you can check out this video next.
Yeah, I think the renown thing that they got banned for was, yeah, like infinitely turning in the same quest. Like there was a bug where you could continually do the same quest over and over and you weren't supposed to be able to. So anybody who did that got the ban hammer from Blizzard. 4-day ban in the week leading up to Mythic Raid opening for tons of Method Raiders. I mean, this is the most important week for anybody who's doing Race to World First, and they got screwed, so they're not going to win the race. 4 days gone. Yeah, good luck with that.